So, get to finally show off the last map that is being changed for the next title update, and I know this is beginning to sound a little bit like deja vu, but this is the last one that they have changed for the title update, and you know, they probably will do more in the future, but this one has probably had the biggest changes out of the ones they've done so far. Understandably, in terms of choosing which maps to revamp first, Total Rock have kind of chosen the most balanced maps in the game so far, simply because those are the easiest to polish off, and I guess if the competitive side for Evolve does return, which hopefully it will after this title update, because it's going to be a completely different ball game, they've got those maps ready. So, as all of you know, the maps that have been done so far are Orbital Drill, Wraith Trap, and Distillery, and I've done videos on those already, but Weather Control is the first step in doing a map that originally wasn't quite balanced. I know there's a lot of other maps that people would prefer to see changed, but these are the ones that they've decided to do to start off with. And they've done a fantastic job with Weather Control. I'm actually really excited to show off some of the pictures that they've actually done. Some of them just look incredible. In fact, this is probably the most changed map out of the ones they've done so far, next to Distillery. You'll also be happy to hear that a lot of these pictures show off completely new areas that actually originally weren't there. So, you know, it's fantastic that they've gone and done that. Also, as far as I'm aware, they aren't going to be stopping here either. I think they do have plans to do this with a lot of the current maps we have. I think MedLab actually might be next on the list, but that won't be for some time, probably after the title update. But the other thing is they might decide to take a step back and do a completely new map, but I guess time will tell. But I think it's a lot more likely that we'll see a lot of the maps we have currently get a big change. Talking in a little bit more detail about Weather Control, the area obviously I'm showing you right now is the cave area. This map in particular, like a lot of other maps I guess, have many problem areas, and the cave system is definitely one of them. All of these maps were of course made before the release of the game and were designed to fit the mechanics of the game at that time. Now, of course, Evolve has changed a huge amount since the release in terms of the mechanics for both monsters and hunters, and now it is getting one of the biggest changes it ever has. So that's why a lot of the maps are getting reworked, so it actually fits with how the game is going to be changed, and hopefully that'll get rid of a lot of toxic situations and will make for some more exciting, closer games. So, understandably, the caves are getting cleared up, and there's going to be a lot more exits and entrances, so the monster does have that option to be able to, you know, weave in and out, because hunters are going to be able to trap a lot easier. I quite like the changes to this area. They've sort of opened it up a little bit. They've also put a pillar in the center. I'm not sure if that's for mitigation or more so to actually break up line of sight. One thing that I am kind of curious about is if they're going to be changing of how the wildlife spawns. Of course, in this particular area, there's a tyrant, for instance, but the pool looks a lot smaller, so they might move it. The other thing is, if you're a semi-decent monster, you've probably come to know certain feeding routes. Now, I don't know whether the feeding routes are going to be staying the same, or wildlife is going to spawn a lot more spread out, or closer together, or it'd be exactly the same as it was. It probably won't change, but as far as I'm aware, monsters in this next update are going to be a lot faster. So, I don't know whether they're going to have to change the spawn rates to try and fit that new mechanic, but it will be interesting to see. Moving on to the beach area of Weather Control, this was way too confined so that monsters couldn't really get out the area without likely getting trapped. The other side of things, a lot of the ground is way too high up, so that, you know, hunters would have to burn a lot of jetpack if you were to trap in this area. So, as expected, they've done everything to fix that. They've broken up the beach a lot more, so I think, you know, a lot of areas are blocked off in terms of line of sight, so you can't just see the whole beach area by standing right at the back. Then, of course, the main sort of rock mounds have been lowered, so that you don't have to burn as much jetpack, and you have a lot more to sort of mitigate around. Like I said earlier, Weather Control's probably had the biggest difference out of all the maps so far, or definitely has had the most work put into it. It's probably had the biggest size change out of most of the maps. That doesn't mean it's absolutely massive now, but definitely noticeable, and probably has more new areas than most of the other maps. Before I actually show off the last mid areas of the map, I just wanted to show you the maps from an eagle-eye view. Wraith Trap has probably got the most subtle changes out of all the maps, but definitely will be easier to tell when you're actually in-game. I mean, you can see they've added a lot more obstacles from the eagle-eye view, and what they've done also is made it so that they've overlaid it on top, so you can actually see the physical change in size and also certain object sizes as well. If you feel I'm going too fast through these, you can feel free to pause the video, or I'll leave a link in the description so you can actually look at the pictures for yourself. I'm kind of going up in maps that are the least changed to the most changed, so next is Orbital Drill, and probably quite similar to Wraith Trap, didn't have any major changes apart from really subtle things, but will be more noticeable in-game. The main change you can see from the eagle eye view is probably at the bottom left to the beach. They've made that a lot more secluded, and they've added some more things in that area. And so looking at it with the overlay, you can see that that area is the main one that's actually had a size increase. Otherwise, everything else has just really been shifted around. Then Distillery, which is actually one I'm very excited for, you can see that they've just added a huge amount to the map. So of course, they've added a lot of new areas and a lot more diversity to the map, especially down the bottom where there was just that vast area of pointless water is actually 2 areas you can now use. And then with the overlay, you can see that there is a mass size increase in comparison to the old one. Then, of course, finally moving on to the map we're actually talking about right now, which is weather control. And just looking at the old map, you can see how naked this map really is, which hence why it was horrible for monsters, because you could never break line of sight in a lot of cases. But now it can actually hold its own, considering the fact they've added a huge amount to this map in particular. I guess that's the good thing, is because weather control was kind of blank, so it's like a blank canvas, so it was kind of easy to put stuff on top, which of course has actually allowed the developers to learn a lot more about how an evolved map should be, so that hopefully in the future, when they do bring out perhaps new maps or do revamp a lot of the other maps, they will definitely be a great experience for players. But again, a noticeable size change, and you can see all the stuff that they've added, and in fact looks really, really cool. So the reason that they've shown weather control last is of course because it's had the biggest change and probably had the most work put into it, and to be honest, I'm really impressed and fucking hyped for this title update. Like, you have no idea how long it feels like I've been waiting for this. In fact, it has been a long time, and all of you have been waiting for a long time as well. Hopefully the patience will pay off. And of course, these are just the map changes. I've still got to actually show the actual main game changes, which hopefully they will be released soon. I know a lot of you have been absolutely dying for a release date, and I can tell you I have as well. Apparently it is likely to be coming out definitely before August. Again, no promises, because shit changes all the goddamn time, but you know, hopefully the wait will be worth it. And quite frankly, if they keep pushing back the date, it's obviously for a good reason. And quite frankly, I'd rather have a polished off title update than something that's going to be buggy or not quite finished. Either way, there's definitely a lot more content to come. Of course, there's probably going to be 2 variations coming out with this title update, and obviously then the rest of tier 3 variations. And apparently they are working on tier 4. I have seen something about that on the forums, and so I would have thought they're going to do 5 and 6, which means there's a hell lot of characters to still come, and that doesn't include what we don't know. But either way, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. You can feel free to have a look at the other map changes, of course, and other than that, I'll see you in the next one.